Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and patch 9.2 is just around the corner, so I saw it fit to do a video, almost a swan song in the way. Maybe that's a little bit too much. But let me get straight to the point. I'm driving in the Tier 10 British tank destroyer. A tank that with premium rounds that cost 8,000 credits a shot is capable of one-shotting most tanks that are one tier below it and shaving off 2/3 to 3/4 of the health of any tier 10 that it hits, including one-shotting many medium tanks and sometimes even tank destroyers. Has this been balanced? Well, not really. This hasn't been very balanced in a long time. And this video is just going to be highlighting some of the absolute devastation that the FV215b 183 has been able to pull off, and also to talk about the nerf that's occurring to it. So here we have our FV ready to shoot something. Goodbye, Mr. Ferdinand. Now that's just a tier 8 tank destroyer. That's hardly very impressive. We did 1,200 damage there. Fair enough, we one-shot him. But even with our AP rounds, which would have cost us 75% less, we would have still been able to one-shot that guy maybe 4 times out of 10. However, that was almost a guaranteed one-shot with the HESH shell. And in my opinion, with the HESH penetration being as high as it is, oh, that one was brutal. Nothing quite like missing 8,000 credits. But at the moment, let me talk about the nerf. The penetration on the HESH is 275. And basically HESH works in the same way as HE. It's very high penetration HE shells. If they do manage to penetrate the target, they do their max damage. However, one of the most crazy things is... Oh, am I really going to try that? No, that would have been cheeky. That would have been even more cheeky than I think even I would be. Oh, am I looking for it still? I'm still looking for this KV4. This game's been quite a while ago. Oh... Oh, no, he just escaped. There's nothing quite like playing this tank, causing a bit of grief. Oh. Oh. It's tense. I'm not going to make the shot, though, and there's an E4 above me. I'm still looking for it. I can't believe... Oh, yeah, okay. We just looped the shell into that KV4 turret. I took a big shot from the enemy T10 E4, and really, that wasn't a very good trade there. Fair enough, I one-shot a tier 8 heavy tank doing 1,600 damage to him, but he is a tier 8 heavy tank, and he's not very capable of doing much in this tier 10 kind of matchup. So back to talking about the HE mechanics, and this tank does definitely give you enough time to talk in between the shells. Oh, there's an E4. Sorry, T34. The E4's up on the ridgeline still. He's sneaking around. So we see a Tiger 2. We're looking for that pop shot, but the aim time's quite long. Okay, so we killed a T34 that was stealth and also did 616 damage to the Tiger 2 with the splash. Okay, almost a Bombardier's medal there. Pretty silly. Okay, so to talk about the HESH, basically it works like HE. If you're able to penetrate with the 275mm of penetration, it does max damage. If you fail to penetrate, however, you still do a very high roll. But it's only really based on the penetration of the tank. Even if you fail to penetrate, totally worth it. 200 damage for 8,000 credits is pretty ridiculous. So even if you fail to penetrate the target, you're still likely to do between about 600 and 900 damage to any vehicle in the game, unless you're shooting at ultra high armored tanks, maybe like a Mouse, maybe like a T10E3 if you can't get its lower plate as an example, and then you might only do 400 to 500 damage to them. So that has meant that there has been almost no situation in which that I would choose to fire an AP round over a HESH round. Here we have the side of an E100. That shot would never have penned in most tanks in the game, but we hit him for 726 with the splash on the HESH. Fair enough, this is a very expensive way of doing damage to your opponents. But taking money out of the equation, I mean, in the end, people are going to make their credits on their premium tanks, or make their credits elsewhere. And so this, I don't think it's a very good stance for wargaming to take. The idea that that was pretty silly. That Object 704 had his armor angled upwards. It looks like the shell looped its way into his upper plate and one-shot a Tier 9 tank destroyer. So I'm going to almost ignore the credit argument here, because a lot of people would say, oh, well, you can't afford to fire premium shells all the time in the 183. But if you're a player with a premium account and you also have premium tanks, or you're just quite good with this vehicle, you end up more or less breaking even or making your money elsewhere. We failed to penetrate that STA-1. We hit him in the turret, which is very unusual considering he's a Tier 8 Japanese medium tank. But we still did 910 damage to him. There's an E100 here. Oh, we bounced the E100 shell. And we really want to get this E100. We're on 5 kills. The E100's on 5 kills. It's very close. This is the battle for the top gun. He's aiming for it, aiming for it, aiming for it. Oh, it goes high! Hits the upper plate of the E100, meaning that we only do 300 damage to him, failing to pen the E100. And now it looks like my demise is certain. Well played, team. Me and Ike could hold on no longer. Maybe we shouldn't have gone down to this flank thinking about it, but we felt that we really wanted to hold the cap circle. Maybe we left the rest of the team to have a really bad game up the top and get killed by these guys who then flanked around, so well played to them. We got outplayed here really by this E100 and the T57 Heavy. Nevertheless, with 7,000 damage done and 5 kills, I felt like I still had a fairly good role in this game. Now, I don't think there's any other tank that would have allowed me to do 7,000 damage, like the 9.1 version of the FV215b 183. With its 275mm of penetration on its HESH shells. So the big thing is they're nerfing the penetration on these shells from 275 to 230. So I definitely think that next patch, based on this replay, that I wouldn't have done as much damage as I did. Now, without recreating this battle exactly in 9.2, we don't know what that 275 to 230mm of penetration nerf is going to do to this tank. But it's quite likely that I might have failed to penetrate that Object 704. The KV-4 would have had a higher chance of bouncing my shell. I would have probably done less damage to that E100 turret. And I might have splashed for less on the STA-1 as well. And when I hit that T-34 that was stealth, and also splashed on the Tiger 2, it's likely that I would have done less splash to the Tiger 2. Nevertheless, I have been on the test server with this vehicle, and I'm going to show you just one of the replays now. So here we are in the FV215b 183. We've got some tank destroyers against us. I'd like to clarify that this is the 9.2 test server. And as we can see, the penetration on the HESH shells is down to 230. Yet we were still able to shoot the superstructure of that Object 263 and do over 700 damage to him with our HESH shell. Now we're going to be looking for more targets. Just managed to reload. There's a 183. I managed to hit him just before this Jagdpanzer E100 goes tilt on me. I'm trying to get out of his way. And we didn't even really probably need to penetrate the FV215b there. We only likely needed to do 700 damage to him to take him out. Just checking behind me to make sure I'm not blocked. Here we can see the Jagdpanzer E100. We're going to shoot at the superstructure. 725 damage done against an angled superstructure of a Jagdpanzer E100 there. So far, we're seeing pretty consistently the HESH ammunition, even though its penetration has been nerfed to 230 from 275, that it's capable of doing large amounts of splash damage. As we're about to see as well, doesn't have any problems.
Enemy armor destroyed.
Nearly one-shotting the side of a Jagdpanzer E100. So in my opinion, next patch, the HESH shells are still going to be superior than the AP shells. But I think refreshingly, there are going to be situations where the AP shell is the best one to use. As an example, maybe you're engaging in E75 and you have a shot into the lower plate. 230mm of HESH is only going to splash over his tank, probably doing 700 damage even on the lower plate. But the AP shells, with 310mm of penetration, are more than likely to be able to go through the lower plate of the E75. What that means is that you're going to have to probably penetrate him twice with the AP shells to kill him, whereas it's very likely that you're going to have to splash 3 of the HESH shells on the lower plate of the E75 to be able to take him out. And that's just forgetting about the economics, that it's going to cost you 16,000 to 24,000 credits to take that E75 out with the HESH shells, whereas with the AP shells it's only going to cost you 4. And just to put things even more into perspective, I'm going to show you one more replay from 9.1, playing with Ike on Malinovka. And you guessed it, the FV215b 183.
Let's go.
So here we go, I'm playing on Malinovka Encounter. This is a very even match. I told Ike that I'm going to camp at the bottom and look for shots of opportunity, while he valiantly is going to go up onto the hill to defend it. Now looking back on this, seeing the matchup, this is a rather nice matchup for this tank. They're only a third of the enemy team at tier 10, with a third tier 9 and a third tier 8. Now the FV215b 183 really likes those kind of matchups. It really does chew up tier 9 tanks, especially with its HESH shells. Generally they have slightly weaker armor, but more importantly they have much lower health pools. And also, Leopard tanks just make me very happy in this vehicle. And even next patch, the Leopard tanks will still make you happy as well, because you're able to easily penetrate them. So the enemy have been very aggressive up on the hill. I'm looking for a shot to try and help them out. Here we see the side of a T62A.
Great shot.
Oh, it hit the top of his turret. And we were only able to do 514 damage to the T62A there. Nevertheless, it's quite likely that if we hit him with an AP shell, it would have bounced at that kind of an angle. But 8,000 credits for 514 damage, whoa, that's not great. Next patch, with the penetration nerf, we might have only been looking at 300, maybe 400 damage there. I'd have to fire half of the rounds in my tank to be able to kill a T62A at that rate, and break the bank at the same time. So I'm still looking for shots up. The armor on this tank is not brilliant, and I'd really rather not get shot right now. But I found that Ike is struggling. I'm looking for a shot on the IS-8, and it goes a little too high. I should have aimed that shot a little lower. The IS-8 resurfaces on full health, and I don't have a chance to shoot. Oh, come on, come on! The VK, he's not even worth it anymore. I kind of look away in disgust. I don't want to shoot that VK. Oh, well, maybe I do. Oh, he's dead now. Oh, a Leopard. The perfect opportunity for this vehicle. But he pulls back. He's right there. I was a little slow to react to that Leopard. But here we have a T-34. Now, this isn't a very valuable tank to shoot at, but we're going to do it anyway. We hit his tracks and splash him for 645 damage. Nothing major so far. I would have probably done better in nearly every other tier 10 tank destroyer. Probably have done more damage. And I wouldn't have spent so many credits. Nevertheless, the FV215b 183 has unprecedented potential with its shells. It's completely unrivaled with its alpha damage in the game, apart from artillery. And even when you've lost the hill as brutally as this, you never want to count it out. So I've decided to fall back so that I can hopefully get some good shots into the enemy as they advance down. Ike was unable to escape, which leaves me and this Jagdpanzer 100 with a very tall order to be able to get out of trouble here. So the gun depression in this tank is not brilliant either. But luckily for me, I'm able to work my way into a position, and I'm looking for a T10 looking for his lower plate. Wow, what a result that was. Nearly the entirety of that T10 tank taken out with a slightly high roll of 1,818 damage. And way to double your damage, hey? Or even more. I'd only done 1,150 damage up until that point. Just increased it by 2.5 times. And that really slowed down their advance. If that T10 had made it to the base of the hill with any kind of hit points, we would have been in a lot of trouble. The Jagdpanzer 100 is doing a great defending job. Totally worth it. 218 damage done there to the IS-8. Little disappointing that the Jagdpanzer 100 got the shot in first, as we would have undoubtedly been able to kill him. Now next patch, would that still have been a kill? Yeah, it would have. That IS-8 would have died even next patch. However, we might not have been able to penetrate the T10 So unfortunately for me, that Jagdpanzer 100 just died, and that has left me completely alone. We've got 2 Waffenträger auf Panzer IVs, or one of them is a Waffenträger auf E100, a Jagdtiger and an Innenpanzer on the other flank. And right now I'm just thinking, hey, let's just defend. I want to try and work my way to that rock, try and not get shot in the side by the leopards that are making their way up from the central part of the map. And these are the kind of shots that we need. ST1 has not seen me yet, but it's very likely that he has Sixth Sense, because he pulled back. So unfortunately for me there, Sixth Sense really helped him out. He obviously pinged up for him and he pulled back before we were able to aim our shot, even though we're using the trees to be able to spot our opponents. And Sixth Sense helped me out there as well. I got spotted. And I pull back before I get ambushed. There's a leopard. One shot, one leopard. 1,500 damage done there. And now I'm trying to keep my frontal armor to the other one. I've got a long reload left. I'm going to try and bully him, slow him down as much as I can. I've got to give myself time to reload. But my Waffenträgers are doing a fantastic job with taking him out as well. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on! Yes! Caught him right in the backside. Had to fire that one, otherwise he'd be round me. We bounce a shell from the ST1. We start to reload. I need to avoid the fire as much as I can. So we were under some serious pressure there. 2 tier 10 medium tanks on near full health came round, executed one, managed to survive for as long as we could, to be able to put the final shot in the other with some good support from our tank destroyers. Now we're looking for the ST1. There he is. There he is. Get the lower plate. We bounce the shot. Get the lower plate. Yes! And luckily for us, the artillery shell just goes wide. So next patch, would that have been a penetrating shot? Hey, I think that's actually a very good example for this tank. Next patch, that could have easily bounced. And the ST1 was on 1,037 health, which means that's a 7 out of 10 kill for the AP shell. So I believe that next patch, the AP shell would have been the better one to use. Nevertheless, the HESH this patch, with its penetration being so close to the AP shells, means that even if I hadn't hit his lower plate flush and splashed on his tracks as an example, or hit his upper plate, or splashed even near him, the HESH shell cripples him. And so, we've managed to turn the game around there. What a fantastic result for us. We were under a lot of pressure, and we've come through with enough health left to probably take an artillery shell hit, but definitely not enough health to take an Object 704 shell. That BL-10 is just looking to end the run that we're on. So I'm trying to poke out to get a tell on the enemy. I poke out, see if I get spotted. I do get spotted, so I pull back. Now I have a very good idea of where the Object 704 is, and I ping the map for my allies to indicate that he is probably still where he was last spotted. I fall back behind the rock because, you know what, I don't want to get hit by the artillery. So the Jagdtiger, that I believe is on full health on that flank, has just seen that the Waffenträger auf Panzervier has made his way out of the base, and he's going to go and help him. Well played to that Waffenträger auf Panzervier for making that move. As soon as I communicated with them, they're actively trying to outflank their opponents. And I do need them. The Object 704 has great camera rating, unless he moves. And my camera rating is not fantastic. So he will very likely, it's very likely that he's going to spot me before I spot him. So what I'm trying to do is just make sure that I can sneak my way up this ridgeline without getting spotted. I don't want to hit the tree. If I hit the tree, I'm going to tell the enemy where I am. And I hit that little tree there. That was a mistake. But I'm much more focused on looking ahead of me and to my side. See if I'm going to get hit by the Object 704 or even spotted, rather than dodging that tiny little tree. So I get spotted right now. That's not good. I'm trying to pull back to try and stay in the dip to avoid getting shot by the Object 704. But I can't hang around for long. And that artillery very nearly just changed this game. And that's the second time I've got lucky. Now looking back on this play, was it the right one? Well, there's now 4 minutes left in the game. If I'd hung back, then we might not be able to catch our opponents. This Jagdtiger was camping there, and he's still there. I'm not sure if he's stuck. I have no idea what's going on with that Jagdtiger. But we'll just ignore him for now, and that's what I was thinking, that I had to ignore that Jagdtiger at least and just work with this Waffenträger auf Panzervier. So my idea to get up on the hill was so that I could support the Waffenträger auf Panzervier. I didn't want to let him be by himself. He could very easily get spotted out in the open and shut down by the artillery very quickly. So I'm just going to use this bush location. Wait for the Waffenträger to make a spot. He makes a great kill there on the batch at 155.55. And I have a lovely opportunity here on the Object 704.
Enemy armor destroyed.
Oh yes, nothing quite like a bit of a side shot there into the Tier 9 Soviet tank destroyer to take down the top gun and finish off the game in style. So just quickly, I want to think if those shells would have penetrated with the nerf that's going to be coming to the HESH in the next patch. So our first shot at the T62A would have likely done less damage next patch. Our next shot at the T34 would have likely done less damage. That very important shot on the T110E5 might not have penetrated the target and would have probably only done 700 damage if it failed to do so. That flush shot into the Leopard as he assaulted me would have very likely still been able to do the damage there and one-shot him. And I forgot that before that, that IS-8 would have, definitely still been penetrated. The following shot on the Leopard would have still been a pen. And I think I judge it to be about 75% likely that we would have been able to penetrate the lower plate of the SD-1 as well. But the thing is that penetration in World of Tanks isn't black and white. But you can be sure that when you take 45mm of penetration off a round, that it is a nerf. It's going to penetrate less often. And as it's HESH, when it fails to do so, it's going to do less damage with the splash. I don't think I would have finished this game with my life intact. Indeed, I don't think my team would have won this game. I think I would have probably ended up with about 3,000 damage done and being killed by the artillery in the T110E5 as he made it down to the rock. So do I think it's a good nerf on the FV215b 183? Yes, I do. I really do. I don't think it should be the case that a tank needs to fire premium. And if we're honest, probably the FV215b 183 doesn't need to fire premium to be competitive. It's a turreted tank destroyer with more alpha damage than any other tank destroyer at 1,150. That's 100 more than the Jagdpanzer 100 as an example, which is quite mobile and has alright armor. I mean, the armor is good enough. It's good enough to take on tier 8s and tier 9s. And as long as you can apply the pressure to tier 10s, you can force some bounces against them. It's not, for example, like the Waffenträger V100 that just gets wrecked by anything that shoots it. If you were to take HESH shells away from this tank completely, I think it would still be entertaining with AP shells, but it wouldn't be the overpowered, oh my god, what the hell tank that it is. I think it's really good that Wargaming are not changing the alpha damage on the 183 HESH shells, because there's still going to be that variety in the game and that excitement when you manage to simply wreck the enemy tank. And the nerf is just going to mean that we see them so less often. So goodbye to overpowered 183 shells. It was really nice knowing you. And hopefully this is going to be a refreshing new chapter in the 183's life. Players are going to just have to make do with only shaving off 1/2 of the enemy's health if they're heavily armored, unless they want to be a lot more tactical with when they choose to fire the HESH and aim for the soft points on the enemy tank, which I don't think anyone could argue with is a much needed change. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please do consider rating it down below. It really helps the channel out. And let me know in the comments what you think about the nerf to the FV215b 183. Do you think that it was needed? Do you think that it's too much? Did you spend a long time to get to this tank and now you're very disappointed that it's going to be changed? Or are you fed up of getting one shot by this tank over and over again and you can't wait to see it nerfed? As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.